there and welcome to another episode of Craft Therapy. We are on our way with our major Jamaican color table set, and we have so far done a placemat. So we have 11 more of those placemats to do. What we're going to be working on this week is the coaster. Now, I had a school of thought because for the placemat we had 4 layers, right? So we had our center color, or interspersing color, or major shell section, then our triple crochet section, right? So that's 4 layers where we kind of reversed the colors going back and forth. However, for the motif we had just 3 layers. We had the center, the inner, and the outer. And I'm thinking that I don't want the coaster to look too much like the motif. So I'm going for a 4 layer rather than a 3 layer. Also, when I looked back at the other video of the Thanksgiving one that I did, I noticed that for the coaster, I put on an extra row of shells. So I'm going to be doing that rather than doing it like the motif. So, point of reference, we're going to be using the motif, but we're going to be doing some variations to it. So what I would want you to do, I'm not going to hold you hostage for us to go back through all of that, but we're going to be doing the single color section as we did when we were doing the motif. So let me just remind you what that is, or you can go back to watch that video and pick up that pattern there. We're going to start with 5 chains and slip stitch into our starting chain. Then we're going to chain up 4, which counts as a double crochet and a chain. Then we're going to put 8 more double crochets with chains in between each, and we are ending on a chain, and then we connect to our 3rd chain up for a total of 9 double crochets in that first circle. Then the second layer, the second row, is going to be chain up 3. Then we double crochet into the same space where we had the chain up 3. Then into our chain spaces from the row below, we put a double crochet. In each double crochet we put 2. In each chain space we put 1. And when we join, we come back around and we join at the top of the 3rd chain for that. Then the 3rd row here is where we do our 2 2 1 2 2 1, where we go up with 3 chains. Then we put another double crochet in the same chain 3. Then we put 2 double crochets in the next one, and then in the other one, the 3rd double crochet, we put 1 double crochet. And so we keep that pattern going around 2 2 1 2 2 1. When we get to the end, we fasten off. That's the pattern that we're going to be working with. So I'm going to get one going and come back and join you when we get to the green. And we're almost finished. Almost done. So we're at our final 2 2 1. So what I normally do to make sure that I'm on the right track when I get here, when I finish with the last single, I must have 3 double crochets left, and that will give me my final set of 2 2 1. Notice how very nice and tight. Not tight as in I'm holding the tension too hard, but tight as in there isn't a lot of spaces in between these stitches, and I love that. I love that look. You know what I mean? So this is the center of our coaster now. We start it just like how we would have done our motifs. 2 and 1. And this is where we're changing color. So I'm going to find the 3rd chain push through. I'm not going to pull through my yellow. Instead, we're going to be putting on our green. And we're going to put on the green the same way we did with our motif, where we're going to be putting our V-stitches. Okay? So we grab our new thread, pull through completely. What I like to do to make sure that it is very sturdy, I do a single chain, and then in these V-stitches we're going to be scrap that, single chain, and then I'm going to put a single crochet to anchor it in the same stitch space right there. Okay, and that single crochet will kind of count as one chain already. We're going to be chaining up 3, 4, 5, which counts as a double crochet and 2 chains, and then in the same space we put a double crochet, and that's our V-stitch. Now draw it a little bit tighter. Going around, we're just going to go around together because it's pretty short, and this is also be a reminder of what we're doing. So we chain 3, then we skip 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the 5th we put our V-stitch. Let's go again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Does anyone else have the experience of when you're on camera is when your crochet needle chooses to become a little bit dramatic and doesn't want to grab and all of those things, or is it just me? 2 chains, double crochet into the same space for a V-stitch. We should have a total of 9 of these V-stitches by the time we get to the end. So let's get them done. 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 5th, two chains in between, double crochet into the same space. 1, 2, 3 chains in between, 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 5th, and normally on our border motif this would have been 2 rows of the green and then we went to the black, but we're not going to be doing it like that this time around, and I really want to just get to the end and show you what it's going to look like, right? As I said, what I was going for was to ensure that there was like a variety to the design, so you don't run the risk of thinking, oh, she just turned one of the border motifs into a coaster. No, the design for the coaster is specific and deliberate, you know what I mean? And I am keeping track of how many rolls of thread I'm using on this project, and I'm also thinking that rather than stress over trying to get one buyer for the full set of 12, I'm just going to split the set into 3. So each combination will be a set by itself. So it's gonna be a 4-piece set, 3 sets of 4-piece sets, as well as I could do 2 sets of 6, but I don't think I'm gonna try and stress to sell it as a whole set, because as I said before, unless you are definitely in the entertaining and hostessing where you need such a huge set, most persons maybe it's just 4 to 6 that you have or need, you get me? So that's how I'm thinking of breaking it up. However, if I do get an offer for the entire set of 12, I won't refuse it. I will not refuse it. But just remember what I have been saying, that this is one of a kind. When I do a design, I retire it. I don't do that design again. So if you see this set and you like it and you miss it when it is sold, unfortunately, unless you're going to crochet it yourself, I will not be repeating this design. Alright, so that's one of the ways I try to keep my work fresh, you know what I mean? So we're at the end. So I did something that I'm going to be pulling out because that's not what I want. On the border motif, as I said, we would have done 2 rows of green. But instead, I'm going to do just the V-stitch row with the green. And I'm going to change my color to black. I'm going to change to black. And with the black now, I'm going to be putting on 2 rows of shells. So to change to the black, we find our third and we grab our black and pull it through. I'll soon tighten up all of these loose stitches. Anchor it with a, you know, something that just occurred to me. I don't have to do all of this because if I'm changing color, I can actually tie it off, right? So let's tie it off and then we start our shells. Let's tie it off. So we tie off with a slip stitch and a single chain. And let's now start our shells. So I'm just going to start it the same way that I would normally start in a shell space, which is a single chain and a single crochet to anchor it. Tighten it up a little bit. And we're doing shells. So let's chain up 3. 1, 2, and 3. In the same space, we put 2 more double crochets. No spaces in between them just yet. And then we put chain 2. And in the same space, we put 3 more double crochets. And that's our shell. 1. Ow. I just poked myself with the needle. 2. And 3. You know, every craft has its hazards, has its casualties. In dancing, maybe the feet, but in crocheting and other crafting, it's our hands and our fingers, right? Now, in between each of these, we're going to have 2 chain spaces. I know it sounds like a bit of the reverse because in the row below we had 3, but because the shells are going to be spreading out so much, you notice this kind of cupping, the shells will pull it right out. We put 2 because if we put 3, it's going to be gappy, and I don't want it gappy. I want it to lie flat. This is not the one where we're going to be, you know, creating a little bit of a design. We want this one to lie flat. So we only put 2 chains in between each of our shells. And remember, a shell is 3 double crochet, 2 chains, 3 double crochet. That completes a shell. So when I say 2 chains in between, I'm not talking about in the shell stitch itself. I'm talking about between the shell stitches. Okay? And that's how it's gonna go. That's how it's gonna go. So we're going to be putting on 2 rows of shells. Now when we get to the second row of shell, we put 2 chains here. We're gonna put 3 chains in between for the second row of shells. So we're gonna go around, joining the third chain, and slip stitch in the third, and then slip stitch here, slip stitch here, slip stitch here for 4 slip stitches, and then we chain up again the same way that we have been doing our shell rows, where we slip stitch at the joining of each of the shells and work our way up. That's what we're going to be doing. So I'm gonna put on the 2 rows of shells and bring you back. So we have completed our 2 rows of shells. As I said before, for this row we have 3 chains in between rather than 2, and we're now going to be going to our final layer, which is going to be our treble crochets. So let me just tie off this row of black, tie off with a slip stitch and a single chain. Alright, snip snip, and then let's grab our green, because we're doing the reverse. So we go yellow, green, black, green, and then the yellow will be our edging, just like we did with our placemat. We have the yellow edging, and of course this would be going with the placemat that has the same combination. So to do our trebles, you can go back to the video where I was putting on the treble stitches, but let me just remind you, we pull through, chain 1, single crochet to anchor, and these treble stitches now are going to be with chain 1 spaces in between so that we can put on our edging. And we chain up 1, 2, 3. That counts as a double crochet. We chain 4 for a single crochet, and then our 5th chain will be our space or chain space in between. We yarn over twice, push through, pull up, so we should have 4 on the hook. Then we pull through once, pull through let's go again. Yarn over twice, pull through, then we yarn over, pull through 2 1 time, yarn over, pull through 2 2 times, yarn over, pull through 3 3 times, pull through 2 3 times, chain in between, and we keep it going. And we're doing a total of 9 of these triple crochets with chain 1 spaces in between each. Alright, I want to show you what we're going to do, just to remind you how we cross our bridge from shell to shell. How we cross the bridge from shell to shell. We're doing the same thing that we did for the border motifs, right? So let me just get us there and show us, because what I realize, you see, as simple as these treble stitches are, because we're doing so many of them into each shell, they do take a little time. So I'm not going to be holding you hostage. Alright, but I just want to show you, just to remind you, how we bridge the chain 3 space between the shell stitches to get over to the other shell stitch to put in our triple crochets. That was a spoonerism, a combination of triple and treble. Alright, bear with me. Let's count. 1 2 3 4 5 6. There we go, 9. So we're at 9. So we chain 1, double crochet onto our chain 3 in the row below, chain 1, and then we go back to our triple crochet. Alright, so we just put a triple crochet there, chain 1, triple. Is it triple or treble? I don't remember, but you know what I mean, right? And we keep it going. And we keep it going. That's how we're looking. That's how we're looking. So I won't hold you hostage. I'm going to finish putting them on around. Come back when we get here. Tie off. Put on our edging. Now for this, because we're not joining it to anything, we're going to put on the edging all the way around. The same way we would have done the placemat is how we're going to do it. Alright. Let me just do a quick measurement to see how many inches we're looking at in terms of a diameter on this thing. So it's gonna be roughly 3.5 inches in diameter, which I think is a good size for a coaster. I think that's a pretty decent size for a coaster, depending on the bottom of your glass, right? Pretty decent size. Alright, so see you in a few. 2 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more. One more. Jump our bridge. And slip stitch into the 4th chain. Normally I just count 2 chains, so our chain space and the chain below it. A little bit simpler to just do it that way in the reverse, right? Tie off. And that's our 4 layers. Now notice, as I said before, that the cupping that we experienced with the V-stitch is no longer. It's now completely flat. So all we're going to be doing on this now is putting on our edging. And we put on our edging the same way we put on all our edgings, which is to just go into our chain 1 space in between our trebles. Triple treble, whichever one. You know which one I mean, right? Pull through, single chain, and a single crochet to anchor it. Because if we just put the single chain, notice how loose it is. So I like to put a single crochet as well to anchor. And that single crochet will count as a single crochet in the space, in the chain space anyway. Chain 1, single crochet into our space. And we're going to do that all the way around as we have been doing on our other pieces. To bridge the gap, we do the same thing, which is single crochet, and then we go back to our pattern. So I'm not gonna hold you hostage. See you when I get around to the end of it. And that's all there is to our coaster. That's all there is to our coaster. That's it. So we are going to be doing one more of this combination, then another of the yellow, black, green, black, and then bordered with the yellow again. And then we're going to be going through the other combinations and doing black, green, yellow, and so on and so forth. But that's it. That's our that's our coaster. So thank you for having joined me for this episode of Craft Therapy. We are now 3/4 of the way through our different things that we're doing. The last thing that we have to do will be our runner, and that we will take on next week. So until then, keep those hands busy so that your mind will be at peace. Happy crafting.